Well, ladies and gentlemen, Heidi Hyatt is with us. It's a great honor. She keeps the legacy of her husband, the late great Walter Hyatt, going through King Tears music. She manages the catalog of Walter Hyatt and his influential Uncle Walt's band. Uncle Walt's band included the eponymous Walter Hyatt, Champ Hood, and David Ball.
Yes.
They made some truly exceptional recordings and influenced some renowned artists, including Marcia Ball, Lucinda Williams, and you may remember some of our past guests, such as Lyle Lovett, Willis Alan Ramsey, and Jimmie Dale Gilmore, expressing their appreciation for Uncle Walt's band. Walter Hyatt sadly passed away in 1996, and the following year, Austin City Limits broadcast a tribute featuring Lyle Lovett, Willis Alan Ramsey, David Ball, Champ Hood, Marcia Ball, Jimmie Dale Gilmore, Junior Brown, David Halley, Allison Moore, and Shawn Colvin. Well, now on Omnivore Recordings, October 1st, 2021, the 11 songs from that ACL broadcast will be released as CD and digital, plus some songs that didn't get aired, and some previously unreleased Walter Hyatt recordings. The title is Mighty Fine, an Austin City Limit tribute to Walter Hyatt. So thank you again, Heidi Hyatt, for being with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Well, I think I'd like to find a little bit about your background. Where are you from originally?
Houston, Texas. Well, my family is Houston, Austin. So my folks met at the University of Texas at Austin. They were both artists in the art department there. And my father was in advertising in in Austin, up until their third child. And then they moved to Houston, where his family lived. And my grandparents lived right outside of Austin. So I've always had a strong Austin connection. And I moved to Austin in 78 after college. Oh, yeah. Just some more. But my oldest brother and then the next brother, well, all of us ended up living there. All of my family ended up living there later. And a family of artists. And my oldest brother was a graphic artist, and he did all the original ZZ Top album covers and all their kind of marketing advertising for that little old band from Texas. So that's another very Texas connection.
Interesting. Well, one thing is for sure, the music of Texas has made such a huge impact on American music as a whole. No doubt.
Definitely. Well, I think what ZZ Top did right there, kind of, and Willie, let's say, and Waylon, but a lot of that just broke it up and where everybody wanted to know what's going on down there. Definitely the whole thing in the 70s, the making Austin weird, the whole hippie movement was, important, I think, for Americana music even.
Oh, definitely. Well, a lot of the people who are watching this they're probably looking at that guitar it's in shot. Tell us about that.
Okay, so that is Walter's archtop made by Bill Collins, who now Collins Guitar is a really well-known guitar company, but this is one of it's his second archtop he ever made. We met him in 79, and Walter had several guitars made by him. This being one of the first. He had a Dreadnought made by Bill, and then at some point Bill decided he was going to go into production, and he made 4 guitars at once, and made a parlor size guitar, which we also have. Walter bought one of his first production guitars, but this one's just really special. Walter played it all the time. Beautiful jazz guitar.
It looks like just a beautiful instrument.
It is. Yeah. Everybody likes that one.
Can you tell us about the first time you met Walter Hyatt?
Oh boy. Okay. Let me get into my whole history. I was married to a guitar maker. That's how I met Bill Collins. On my honeymoon, I was married to Tom Ellis, who is a fabulous mandolin maker now. And we went out and heard Uncle Walt's band down at the Waterloo Ice House on Congress Avenue in Austin. And they were great. It was a great band. And as it turns out, the marriage was sort of short-lived. We were, it's like your college boyfriend. You're not sure what you're going to do next. And we got married, and I learned to be a luthier in part. I learned making instruments and being an artist and working with my hands. And that was really cool. But I couldn't handle the sawdust. I really just found having sawdust on all the time. I was like, I think I'm doing something else with my life. So I moved back into town, and I started working at the Waterloo Ice House as a day job. And that's where I would run into Walter. His band had built a studio upstairs that they rehearsed in. And I would go upstairs to pick up supplies, and we would just pass each other, and we got to talking. And of course, I knew he was very talented. I admired that. And we just liked each other and sort of worked out.
Do you think that people are aware to the extent that they should, the incredible music that Uncle Walt's band recorded and performed?
Well, no, of course not. And we're doing what we can now to try to get it out posthumously, but not in David's case, but yeah, just they were such a unique band. It was such a different thing in Austin, and they were really highly admired by all the other bands and musicians, but they were very eclectic. There wasn't an Americana music outlet for people to purchase it or for record labels to even want it. They would try to decide what Uncle Walt's band was based on, like, pick one of the three singers or one of the kinds of music that you play. But they played all kinds of music, and all three of them sang, and they did these beautiful harmonies, and there just wasn't a commercial place for it. So yeah, the music didn't get out there in its time that far, but I think people, now still appreciate it. And certainly musicians recognize the craftsmanship of those guys, the talent there. So like I said, we're doing what we can now to make sure that people know about this music. Music goes on, just kind of like art. You create the piece, and the beauty of it is it can go on further than your lifetime.
Well, speaking of those musicians, there's been quite a number of people who've come on this show and expressed their love of Uncle Walt's band. Who would you say is the biggest proponent, the biggest disciple out there, other than yourself, for Uncle Walt's band?
Well, for people who play music, that's almost not fair. That's kind of like when they say to an actor, "Who was your favorite co-star?" But I'm going to tell you right off, Lyle Lovett has been fantastic about playing Walter's music, playing Uncle Walt's band music. He had Walter on tour with him. He produced Walter's first solo record. So he's always done everything he can. He's so great about showing his love for Walter. And then he plays the music as the walk-in music on his show when he does his performances. So he's still doing everything to keep it going. And Champ's son, who plays around Austin, Warren Hood, has definitely gone on to carry the torch. And so many people in Austin know the music still, of all generations, because of that, because of these young artists there that love the music and want to play it. I mean, it's amazing that they're still doing that. There's still every weekend you can go out and hear Uncle Walt's band music somewhere.
Well, one thing I could say about Lyle Lovett is he's a fascinating person, and I would probably struggle to define Lyle Lovett. And since you've known him for quite some time, how would you define this eclectic gentleman, Lyle Lovett?
Well, I think underneath it all, he's a real softy and a sweetheart. He just cares so much. He's a busy guy. He's done amazing things with his career. The fact that he's been able to continue playing all these years and does his live show. And one thing I think about Lyle is kind of like your dentist, someone that goes into work and does that job every day, and that is them, and that's what they do, and they give that to people. I think it's just amazing that he hasn't decided he's had enough, or going to do something else, or what. He's consistent, and I think that people need that. It's like a favorite restaurant you get to go to. He's solid, and he loves doing that. I mean, he's not a flighty guy at all.
Well, the great thing is people are going to be able to get the CD or download this music October 1st. And again, the title is Mighty Fine, an Austin City Limit tribute to Walter Hyatt.
Yeah.
What can you tell people about that particular taping? When it happened back in, what was that, 1997?
Well, okay, so after Walter died, there were a lot of people who were sure they had to do something, pull something together. And we, old friend of Walter's, who was a booking agent, Bobby Cudd, helped put together live shows and then this recording as well. So they had all these artists, friends, come and perform at the old Ryman Auditorium in Nashville just 2 months after. And that was a fabulous show. I think it was quite possibly near one of the last shows that Townes Van Zandt ever did. We had Hal Ketchum. I'm going to look at my list. Shelby Lynn, Allison Moore, Jeff Hanna, Marshall Chapman, Dave Olney. Everyone came in. David Ball, Champ Hood, Tommy Goldsmith, all of his old bandmates, Steve Runkle. But just all of these people came in, and either it was a song that they had always done, or I offered up some choices, and everybody's song was just perfect for them, and they all sang his music. So then another show like that was created down at the Paramount in Austin, where we had a Sleep at the Wheel, and who all do we have? Ted Roddy, Tish Hinojosa, Megan O'Byrne. We had like 18. It was amazing how many folks. Jimmie Gilmore there with David and Champ, and everybody came in there, did their interpretation, and it was such an amazing thing because Walter wrote such a variety, and then you find all these artists who are nothing alike, and when they played, it certainly didn't sound like a night of one guy's music. It sounded like everybody doing their own performance, and the way the production was done, I think the band stayed and everybody just came out, so it was just one after another, and which is, I guess, how the Austin City Limits kind of comes across, right? Just everybody getting up there and singing a song. So then we Terry Lacona, who we're old friends with Terry from Austin too, he wanted to be a part of that, and he worked with Bobby on getting these artists. So then we have on that one, which is the record, of course, we have Marcia Ball, whom Walter had known since the early Uncle Walt's band days. We have Willis Alan Ramsey, who is the guy who brought Uncle Walt's band down to Austin because he had heard them in Nashville when he was working on his record. And then Lyle, who used to book them at the coffee house in his college days. We got Champ David, Jimmie Dale Gilmore, another old friend of ours. So Jimmy's on that, with Junior Brown, who had played with Uncle Walt's band and did some recording for a little while. Like, they had gotten to be pals. I guess, like I said, everybody really liked Uncle Walt's band. You had 3 different guys. They were meeting all kinds of people. And then we have David, Halley, and Allison Moore and Shawn Colvin all showed up for that. So it's a really cool show. And then the fact that we now get to take it, just the audio, and make that available to people, because this has kind of been in hiding for 25 years, 20 plus years. It's not one of those ones that Austin City Limits was replaying, So now it's the audio of that, and you get to feel what that night was about.
Well, thank goodness that this is getting out there. I've listened to it from beginning to end, just not skipped a single track several times, and it's I was grateful that Mark sent that pre-release
Oh, yeah.
copy.
Oh, good.
You know, what's amazing to me is having heard Uncle Walt's band recordings, even on their own studio albums, but it's especially the case with all these different people singing it. You can't believe that all these different songs came from one band. They're just so eclectic in terms of their structure and in terms of the way they sound.
Yeah, well, and definitely with Uncle Walt's band, I think that's why those three guys, there was a brotherhood amongst them, because they just had this innate talent as musicians and with good taste. And then they appreciated what it was the others had, and when they played together, it was just magic. And then this record being all Walter's songs, you really get to see how broad he was musically, how he appreciated all of it, and he understood all of it enough to be able to write his own songs, in different styles that come across purely as, different genres of music, I guess you'd say. And the other beautiful thing about this recording is that, having been just the audio off of the taping, when you're seeing the visuals, it's a certain thing. It all goes together. But Omnivore Records, it's releasing it. They worked the sound so that you also get to really hear it with a good quality like that too. The guys working there, everyone from the packaging, administration and the sound, have just done a beautiful job making this record.
It's sounding great. So this is probably another one of my unfair questions, but if you had to pick one of those tracks that really you just find yourself going to again and again, you tell me and I'll tell you mine.
Okay. It might be. The one that's kind of the standout, just because it's a cappella, is Babes in the Woods with Lyle and Shawn singing. And recently we were talking to someone. We got a little story about how difficult it was to transpose Walter's music, to play it, to figure out the chords. He had all these jazz chords that he would study and work on, and that song definitely spotlights a lot of that. And I guess maybe Lyle called Champ and said, "Hey, do you know what the chords are to that?" And Champ said, "No, I don't know them." Whether he was not helping, or he said, they can figure it out. But as it turned out, Lyle had always said it was too complicated to play, so we left it to Victor Krause, the stand-up bass player. He's phenomenal. So we left it to Victor to play it, and they sang a cappella. And I think just the story, and of course the song itself, is just haunting and beautiful, so that's kind of a standout for me. What about you?
Well, there's two that really, when I think about wow, an outstanding cut, Georgia Rose.
Oh yeah.
As performed by Jimmie Dale Gilmore.
Mm-hmm.
And Lonely in Love.
Oh, that's Willis singing that one, right? Yeah. I love that. And he really does it with the feel that Walter had of it. That's good. And Willis's voice it's Willis, just to hear him sing anything is great, right?
Right.
And then Jimmie put that beautiful kind of lonesome twang to Georgia Rose. That's really good. Oh, that's cool that you like those. Not the wacky one the obvious wacky one like I'm picking.
I'm glad you said that about Willis Alan Ramsey. I think people talk about him, rightfully so much as this great songwriter. He's definitely one of the great American songwriters, but also he is such a singer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he really knocked it out.
Yeah, I love his voice. Well, here's another personal story, but when I was in college, I had the Willis Alan Ramsey record, Wore the Grooves, through. Just one of my first concerts in college to go to was Willis Alan opening for Asleep at the Wheel. And I danced so much. Like those are the hippie days. You just get out and dance, free dancing. I danced so much that the next morning when I stood up from bed in my dorm room, I fell down because my legs would not hold me up anymore. I had worn them out, and I honestly couldn't walk for 2 days. But I loved Willis, just those sweet songs, the beautiful little quaint love songs. I just thought he was the best. And, it was one of those things that maybe a lot of girls said, it's like, I want a man like that who will write beautiful love songs to me. As it turns out, I meet Walter, and he and Willis are friends, and I've always told Willis how much his music means to me, how important it was. And I guess the fact that I was somehow drawn to Walter because of that too.
Well, for anybody who gets this CD,
Yeah.
Mighty Fine, an Austin City Limit tribute to Walter Hyatt.
Yeah.
What is it that you hope the listener might get from that experience, aside from just the simple enjoyment?
Well, I hope that they will delve further into Uncle Walt's band and Walter's music. Just maybe this is an opportunity to reach a new audience with each artist's fan base and those who like what they do and will follow what they do. So for us, you got to hope that it's going to be heard by more and more. But Walter made his own records. After the Uncle Walt's band broke up, Walter had the King Tears was produced by Lyle Lovett, which is just a great record. And then he did another solo called Music Town, which is kind of has a more of a country flair to it. And then after Walter died, he had been going around to studios making demos of what he hoped to present to another label so that he could make a record, and they never got finished. So I went in the studio with the producer, Michael Killen, and the engineer, Nick Sparks. And it was kind of the early days of Pro Tools, where we could add everybody onto recordings, that we no longer had Walter, his guitar, but we took all that off of them and added his band and musicians.
Those last tracks.
Oh, okay. So, of course, the last tracks, the bonus tracks kind of from the show, those are from those recordings where we took Walter's guitar vocals, added all the instrumentation with all the great players, his band. And I mean, we had the Jordanaires come in. We had, now it's all gonna leave me. Dan Dugmore, what's his pedal steel?
Yeah, Dan Dugmore.
No, Jerry Douglas.
Oh, yeah.
No, Jerry. He was an old friend of Walter's. They used to play in the Nashville Jug Band. So we had all these folks come in and play on the records I made, Some Unfinished Business. And I think, did I put out 2 or 3?
Just 2.
I put out 2. I have some material on
available digitally.
Potential for a third, and all of that is digitally available. But yeah, so from here, like we did all this with Uncle Walt's band, and it has helped more people discover, and the fans that only had an old LP or something, now they can download it or they can buy a physical piece. But and they've done it on vinyl. Omnivore, so cool. They did a lot of those on vinyl as well. A lot of the recent releases. So for the collectors of vinyl, but what I did and what we have of Walter's music is pretty vast to be found out there as well. So hopefully this also will help people find Walter Hyatt and his music.
This is maybe also a difficult question, and it's not limited just to the songs that were done that night on ACL. Uh-huh. Is there a Walter Hyatt song that means the most to you?
Let's see. He told me he wrote the song "Open Up Your Heart." I don't know if that's on. I think that's on an Uncle Walt's band. For me, and there's another one because I think Lyle asked him one time, "Is there a song you wrote for Heidi?" And why am I not remembering the one? I'm on the spot. Every song is like rushing through my head right now. But
Open Up Your Heart is a good one.
Open Up Your Heart is a good one. Yeah. But for me, just a favorite Walter song. Oh, that is too hard. Yeah, I don't know. One of Babes in the Woods was really one of my favorites too. Maybe that's why I chose that off the record. I thought that was just so cool when he wrote it. It's interesting, but gosh, I like everything.
Is there anything else coming up in the Uncle Walt's band universe?
Well, we are going to be down in Austin. This is not Uncle Walt's band, but for this record release, we're going to be down in Austin on the 1st. And Champ's son and nephew, I suppose Marshall Hood will be there, Warren Hood, Marshall Hood, and the folks that they play with some special guests, are going to be performing at the Saxon Pub the songs from this record. And then my kids are going to come down there and perform as well. And then the next night, going to Houston to the Mucky Duck. So there's going to be live music, along with the release of this. We've been doing that with the other records, the other Omnivore records. And it's just been really great to see all the old friends, and maybe they'll bring their kids and we get some new fans. So, we try to get out there, get it where people can, kind of have the whole experience.
And so that's going to be October 1st and October 2nd.
Yeah, Austin on the 1st and Houston on the 2nd.
Okay. So everybody be aware and make plans.
Yes, the Saxon Pub, Austin, Mucky Duck in Houston. And they're kind of small venues. So I don't know if you can get a ticket ahead, but you need to check and see.
And so the CD is going to be available also on the 1st, and people can get that on Amazon. I'm taking it. Where can people pick it up?
Pre-order it now on Amazon or Omnivore Recordings.
Okay, you can pre-order it on Amazon, or you can go to Omnivore Recordings, is what they're under. Yep, right there.
And, independent record stores.
Right, there are still
Waterloo
Waterloo Records.
Records.
There are independent record stores that will carry this as well. Yeah,
Digitally everywhere.
and digitally all the places you go for music. Yeah.
Okay. Well, on a personal note, what is the best thing about being Heidi Hyatt?
Oh God. My good fortune. I've just had the good fortune to come from an amazing family, to have had that incredible experience of being in Austin when the music exploded, meeting Walter and Uncle Walt's band when I did, coming to Nashville, having 2 incredibly beautiful children with Walter. And then, the thing is, I've always been such a supporter and fan and collector of things. Now to have the music and, I wouldn't say it's something I'm so happy about. It's just very fortunate that I'm the person who hung on to all the recordings that Walter had kept, and that I have this opportunity now, having met Mark Michelle, who understands how to put a record out there and do that part. I just feel like, when everything works for you and you don't have to think about it, that's the best part of my life.
Well, everybody out there, please check it out. Mighty Fine, an Austin City Limits tribute to Walter Hyatt from
Yes.
Omnivore Records. October 1st, 2021 is the release date. There it is. Hold
Yeah.
up the picture a little closer there.
I'm going to bring it right in. Make sure I'm on it.
Look at that.
You see that? Making sure it's there.
Scott Newton.
Oh yeah, Scott Newton, the Austin City Limits photographer. We've got just some great photos in here in the little booklet. Is so fun. We got to put together a really big booklet that has all the artists. And of course, it's Austin City Limits. So we have great pictures of everyone performing. And then there's the whole gang, the whole bunch out there singing the last song, Aloha. Yeah, everybody's so sweet. They're so good.
And that's a cool song, Aloha.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently he wrote that hitchhiking in the snow. Going to Canada.
Well,
yeah, there's probably a story. I probably do know a little story to each one, but I'm not that familiar with doing a Zoom thing. So it all's kind of like rushing through my head right now.
well, I will confess, on camera is, for me, it's a little intimidating. Always.
Yeah.
Years of being on the radio, it's just weird that people can see me.
Right. Right. And, yeah, they can see, you could look at notes and things, we're right in your face. Hopefully I remembered some things right.
Well, you did wonderful. And thanks also to Mark Michelle.
Yes. Big thanks to Mark.
All right. Well, Heidi Hyatt, what a pleasure. I hope to meet both of you in person someday.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do it.
All right. Well, until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.